Hey, Canucks fans, let's talk about what Elias Pettersson'S next contract may be now that we have yet another comparable. Hey, everyone, I'm in Lima, Peru. I'm here with my lovely wife, Gail, who's taking a nap next door. We have my son, Jacob, who's across the way with a teammate. And we are here in Lima, in Peru, as Jacob competes in the Pan Am Youth Bowling Championships. Very exciting. We're leaving in about half an hour for practice, a couple of days of practice, and then 5 days of competition. So thank you. We got here, our luggage got here, including Jacob's bowling balls. So we are ready to go. So thanks for your prayers, for your messages, for your greetings over social media. I'm going to try and vlog every couple of days to at least keep you in the loop. Two things I want to keep you in the loop about with the Vancouver Canucks. Number one, Ilya Mikheyev, who was shut down at the end of January so he could have knee surgery because he got injured actually in the preseason at the start of the year. And I don't think was ever his full self. We never saw the best of Ilya Mikheyev. So they said at the time it would be a 4 to 6 month recovery. Well, guess what? It's basically 6 months to the day from the time they shut him down. So he's resuming skating. I presume it means he'll be ready for training camp in 6 or 7 weeks. But I think the good news is that he is going to be skating, and hopefully he's returning to full speed so he can better impact the penalty kill, so he can help with the offensive load. And like I said, even though he played half the season, more than half the season, I don't think we saw the best of Ilya Mikheyev last season. So let's hope everything goes well, and let's hope that he has a positive impact on the Vancouver Canucks. Speaking of positive impact, Elias Pettersson, we know that he's due for a new contract. Now, he still has 1 more year on his present contract. He's entering his 6th season. So it's the final year of his second 3-year contract, if that makes sense. And at the end of the season, we still have his rights. So don't freak out. He's not going to leave anywhere. But as of July 1, the Canucks were able to negotiate a new deal with Petey and his agent. And his agent even said, let's not rush. There's no rush. Petey likes it here. I believe him. I want to believe him. Petey likes it here, and he wants to stay here going forward. So I wouldn't expect a new contract to be announced by the end of the summer, by the start of training camp, but who knows? They announced JT Miller's over Labor Day weekend last summer. Maybe it's a quiet day at the end of the summer where they announce it, or maybe we have to wait until later in the year. Maybe they want to see if Petey, I think they know how good Petey is and what he can accomplish. So I want to talk for the next few minutes about what we think this next contract may be. So I'm going to give you some thoughts, and then I'm going to drop a number at the end. And I'd love to hear your number. But right away, if you want to, even before I do that, you hear my prediction. If you want to drop a number in the chat, you're welcome to do so. And presume an 8-year contract, which is the maximum that a team can sign their own free agents to. Okay, so Petey is entering the final year of his second 3-year contract, which pays him $7.35 million a year. We know it's going to be way more than that. And we're talking about salary versus salary cap. Let's talk about cap hit, because that's the most important part to calculate in a team. Your numbers can go up and down, but it has to average out to a cap hit that's applied to your team's salary cap. So Petey counts for $7.35 million of that salary cap. So I think some people were wishful thinking it's going to be 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5. Now I think we're looking at 10 million or more. And here's the reasons why. Sebastian Aho, not the perfect comparable, but a pretty good comparable. He just signed a brand new 8-year contract worth $78 million. So that's $9.75 million a year. 975 times 8 is $78 million a year. He's got some good stats, but I'm going to show you that Petey's stats are a lot better. So Aho's 26 years old. He just turned 26 2 days ago on the 26th, whereas Petey's only 24, turning 25 in November. So there's a 17-month age gap already. Aho's obviously older. Aho drafted in the second round way back in 2015. Petey drafted in the first round in 2017. In 520 regular season games, Sebastian Aho of the Carolina Hurricanes has 468 points, good for 0.90 points per game. In 325 games, Petey has 323 points, basically almost exactly a point per game pace. Let's say it's 0.99. So regular season, Petey's outscoring Aho 0.99 points per game to 0.90 points per game. In the playoffs, Petey, obviously smaller sample size, 18 points in 17 games, good for 1.06 points per game. Aho, with a great Carolina team, played way more playoff games. He has 58 points in 63 playoff games. So he's played almost 4 times as many playoff games as Petey, and that's a 0.92 points per game for Aho. So Petey outscoring Aho in the playoffs too, regardless of how many games, 1.06 to 0.92 points per game. You look at last season, Aho scored 67 points, 36 goals, 31 assists, 67 points in 75 games, and then got his new contract. Petey doesn't have his new contract yet, but he had 102 points last season, 39 goals, 63 assists in 80 games. So 102 points versus 67 points. Let's presume for our conversation that Petey doesn't skyrocket to 120 points, but he also doesn't fall off the map and go down to 75 or 80 points. Let's say he has another 100-point season. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I think the Canucks will be just as good offensively. So let's say a 100-point season for Petey. Where does that put him in terms of, let's presume, an 8-year contract? There are only 8 players that make $11 million or more, and there are another 7 players that make $10 million to $11 million. Let's go through them very quickly. So here's the 2 guys make over $12 million, and that's Nathan MacKinnon, 12.6, Connor McDavid, 12.5. So let's agree that Petey's not in that stratosphere yet. Then there are 6 guys that make $11 million or more. There's Panarin at 11.6, Matthews at 11.6. Then you have Erik Karlsson, 11.5. You have David Pastrnak at 11.3, Doughty at 11, and John Tavares at 11. So 2 of those guys are defensemen, Karlsson and Doughty. But let's look at those forwards. McKinnon, 12.6, McDavid, 12.5, Panarin, 11.6, Matthews, 11.6, Pastrnak, 11.3, and then Tavares, 11. Maybe Petey not as good as McKinnon, McDavid, Panarin, Matthews, or Pastrnak yet, but you could argue that he's more valuable and just as good as John Tavares at $11 million. Remember that. Then there's another 6-7 guys that make between 10 and 11. You have Mitch Marner at 10.9. Then you have Carey Price at 10.5 and Jonathan Huberdeau at 10.5. Then 4 guys make $10 million, and that's Eichel, Barkov, Kopitar, and Bobrovsky. So let's take Bobrovsky out at 10. Let's take Carey Price out at 10.5. There's 5 skaters then that make between 10 and $11 million. So I consider all those names, all those numbers. I consider Petey's age and his potential and what he's done so far. My guess is it's going to be an 8-year contract worth $10.75 million a season. So an $86 million contract over 8 years. So that basically puts him at $1 million per season more than Sebastian Aho. And I think I've shown, at least statistically, where that might make sense. And then if you look at the $10 million guys, the skaters, like Kopitar, Barkov, and Eichel, I think Petey is at least as good. He's certainly not worse than them. So he's about as good as those guys for sure. Then remember, those contracts were signed before, salary cap's going up, so then you kind of bump Petey up, at least in my mind, you bump him up. And then you're looking at Huberdeau at 10.5. I definitely think, well, maybe it just shows that Huberdeau's overpaid. He had a bad season. I think Petey's better than Huberdeau. So if I think that Petey is at least equal or better than, or close to Eichel, Barkov, and Kopitar, and then you have Huberdeau at 10, those guys at 10, and then Huberdeau at 10.5, I think you're looking at minimum 10.5 for Petey. I really do. I think he's equivalent to Marner. I think he's better than Tavares. I think Tavares is overpaid. But I certainly don't think he's yet as good as Pastrnak, Panarin, Matthews, McDavid, and McKinnon, who make 11.5 and higher. So if I'm not sure if Petey's an $11 million guy, I'm pegging him at 10.75. I don't know if $250,000 over 8 years times 8, $2 million is going to make much of a difference. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going 10.75 times 8 for an $86 million contract for Elias Pettersson. Canucks fans, let me know what you think. Am I off my rocker? Is that way too high? Is that way too low? Can Canucks afford anything more than that? I don't know. But let me know in the comments below what you think Petey's contract is going to be, his next one, what you hope it's going to be, what you think it's going to be. Maybe it's the same number, and what you think of my number of 10.75 times 8. Shout out to my sponsors, Advanced City Experts Real Estate, Perform and Transform, Personal Training, Weight Loss. Thank you, legendary Lucas Gates, legendary Carol Bovenlander, legendary Andrew Chang, and the Hall of Fame franchise members as well. Thanks to all of you for your support. Thanks to everyone watching and subscribing. Always appreciate you. Never take you for granted. On your way out, subscribe, like the video, leave a tip, become a member or upgrade your membership, and definitely leave a comment down below your thoughts on Petey's next contract. I'm saying 10.75 times 8 equals $86 million. I'll hope to check in either tomorrow or the day after. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. God bless, and go Canucks go.